right, welcome, Ged. How's it going?
Grinding away, man. How are you?
Surviving?
Surviving.
Yeah, it's going all right. Actually, a little bit thankful for the rain to knock some of this heat down a little bit, but I think the heat's coming right back. So
I'm just glad you survived. I see the sleeve monster got a hold of you.
it got a hold of me.
The
It
sleeve.
got a hold of me.
It left Cheese's house and came and got you.
Yeah. So we had episode 7 of The Acolyte last night, which was titled I can't remember. Was it Choice?
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, didn't like it. Did not like it.
You know, I'm a big glass half full guy when it comes to this series, and mainly Star Wars in general, right? Like, I'm just happy we're getting content. They definitely swung and missed, I think, last night.
Yeah, and like here's my thing. We rated earlier episodes a lot maybe higher than some other people would.
Yeah.
And that was with the intrigue and the mystery
Yeah.
of what plot threads and stuff could be happening in the future.
Yeah.
And we finally got to the episode where a lot of those storylines were going to be delivered. And I was completely underwhelmed by almost all of them.
You could almost say disappointed.
I was disappointed. And part of that is because I've hyped myself up, been like, oh, they could go this direction, this direction, this direction. And a lot of people I've heard from were like, man, like, do you really trust the writers to like actually have those good of ideas and stuff like that? And I was like, it feels like they're setting it up for that, but it didn't land for me.
Even the one really cool part instantly got turned around and ruined. There was one part, like my favorite part. Like I know we normally go in order, but I literally need to want to jump into this for a quick sec.
Yeah.
The one cool part I thought they had was when they possessed Kalneka.
Yeah.
And then they end up fighting him, and I'm like, this is kind of cool. But then the Matrix lady shows up, breaks
Dara.
And Dara literally, okay, like he gets him out of it, but then does she like kill them all with it? Like, did she?
Yeah, I have it written down. Like what happened to all the witches? Like, why did they all just? Because like
just died.
Yeah, because first I thought the Jedi were gonna slaughter everyone, and then the whole time they only kill the mother, and then everyone just dies because of the connection to Kalneka was severed. I didn't get it. And like they talked about May when they were like questioning May. She talked about something about like a sacrifice needs to be made or something like that. So like, were they sacrificing themselves? I have no idea. Like it was not very clear, and I don't get it.
Correct.
Yeah. So just silly things that bothered me. First off, they're searching this entire planet for the Virgins or whatever. I think it's kind of cool. They bring the whole Virgins thing, that kind of line from Qui-Gon.
Agreed.
About Anakin. But they're searching this planet. They claim there's no life forms. But like, did you not see the massive like rock structure mine castle? When you flew in, and 2, we've seen in Star Wars before where like when like say Luke's going to Dagobah, he's like, I'm not reading any cities or technology, but there's a ton of life forms. You're telling me none of their ships could detect there was life forms on that planet the whole time? Like,
well, my thought is maybe because they don't leave the city, they don't leave the structure. Remember, May catches Osha outside the structure.
Yeah.
My guess is that there's some dark magic, and especially with the old, they mentioned it's an old mine. Maybe that is protecting it from being seen by them. And once she leaves,
maybe they're shielded from the sensors. Yeah, okay. I could see it, but again, I'm like, how do you not notice this giant structure? Essentially, but like other things, like, going back to episode 3, there was a lot of talk about the fire burning everything, and I was adamant. There's no way the fire burnt everything down and destroyed that place. The fire did.
It was electric, but it hit the electrical. So that's
a couple wires.
It was game over.
I hated that.
Yeah.
And I guess the main thing I did not like was the whole reason they got into a conflict in the first place. Yes, Sol was protective of Osha and felt she was in danger, but that was kind of the reactionary thing to it. The main driving force was Torben wanted to go home. Like that, really? That was the plot line that you came up with for them to invade that witch base. And he was just like, F it. If I go in there and get those, prove the virgins and I could go home, I'm going to go do it. Like, and that was weak.
And I wouldn't say it's a saving grace, but the one good takeaway from that was, if you remember what happens to him later on in life, he never goes home. He literally hides away and like has to deal with that for the rest of his natural life, right? So, I mean, I wouldn't call it a save, but I like that they kept it consistent.
Yeah, so the whole thing, like, essentially he was homesick. He was bored of being on the road doing a mission, but like, even like Indara kind of mentions in Soul, like that should have been like a pretty special mission for Padawan to be on, investigating our virgins in the Force, and he just wanted to go home, and because of that, Mother Anastasia, whatever, got in his mind, saw that, pulled on those threads, and then that essentially spurred the whole thing. Which I don't know. I just when like that was the crux of everything. I was just like, really, like this? You've been building up this. Something happened here this whole time, and it's because
that was it.
And because Torben wanted to go home. So people,
even the way Mother Anastasia dies, like she shouldn't be in a solid life form to be able to be poked to the lightsaber.
Yeah, and like, how did you think it was weird that Saul just decided to like stab as she was dissipating? Just all of a sudden, just
completely random.
Impale her?
It made no sense, and it was completely out of character.
Yeah, it seemed out of character. And again, I don't know if he was threatened by that or what was going on, but like we've seen Mother Talzin do that before, when she kind of dissipates into the green mist and like moves on. Like we've seen that from the witches before, but yeah, for him to just have the mother start disappearing and then him stab her was like
awful. It should have been Torben. Torben should have been
that would have made more sense, because he was losing his mind a little bit. Yeah. So I didn't like that. I get why he now has this guilt essentially over the twins, right? Because he killed their mother, and again, like I think Saul was I think he's a Jedi Master in that flashback as well. So for him to react like that is, it just seems so out of character for him.
It was not good.
No, not good.
I'm trying to find. I mean, the only thing I enjoyed about the episode was I like that they showed more about them interviewing the twins. I thought that is the only light I can see in this episode, unfortunately.
Yeah, positives. I liked the whole when Torben's like, "Oh, I got my mental protection up. It's like it's not me," and then they turn it. It's Cal Neka. Like
that was cool. The Cal Neka fight was badass.
Yeah, I like that. But other than that, there wasn't a whole plot wise and writing wise. There wasn't a whole lot I liked. And like I could point to little things. I like that they acknowledged that the twins were too old to train.
Yeah, I like that they acknowledged that the council said no.
Yeah, council said no. I thought it was smart. I thought the cover up was actually smart. And it was kind of almost Jedi-like, like, Soul, you risked all this to get Ocean. Now you want to admit it to the council? Yeah. Like, you're going to ruin that girl's life. Like, why not? Yeah. Why not? Let's just say May did it, and you can train and raise Osha appropriately, sort of thing. So I thought that played into the storyline well.
Yeah, I agree.
It was just, and the other thing that bothered me too was, this was a longer episode, which got me excited because we had the last two episodes, I think, are both 43 minutes each. I was like, they got a lot of storylines to catch up on and, give us some closure on. And 75% of this episode was wasted on scenes we had already seen. Yeah.
And now they've got one episode to try and wrap this thing up, right?
It's like I watched episode 3 again with a couple little extra clips. Yeah. And the added stuff was all stuff was stuff that you could have basically assumed without any crazy theorizing. Like, we knew Cal Neka got possessed because we saw him fighting Torben in the one teaser. Yeah. So we knew the Jedi and the witches were involved in some sort of brawl. But like I said, like I was expecting the Jedi
to the other head person.
I did have that written down.
Her die.
Yeah. So during episode 3, lots of people said she was still alive. They didn't see her body, and some people suspected she was maybe the Sith Lord. I dismissed that. I didn't think it. I didn't really care for it. But after seeing this episode, 2 things stuck out. One, you're right. She dissipated, but she was never in that collection of people doing the chant for the possession. So she did not die. And the other thing I thought was interesting that I haven't seen really talked about was when she was telling May to like go stop Osha, she was like, use your anger, get mad. Like she was saying like all the essential dark side teachings to get May to unleash her power. So I thought that was a pretty telling line. And the fact that she definitely survived, it looks like, it's, I don't know how I feel about it, because in the finale, well, let's work this through. In the finale, we've all assumed it's going to be Plagueis or Tenebris, but the one thing we didn't see in this episode, which part of my main disappointment was, I thought the Sith were going to be involved on the Witch Planet. I thought they were going to be behind the scenes, pulling the strings, doing something, but we saw zero involvement from anyone, we want to see name dropped.
Yep.
Now that we've seen that, and we know that Khmer knows what happened on the planet. Yes, May could have told her, because May saw him kill the mother. May could have said, I saw that, and told him. Or is the Sith Lord this whole time Mother Coral? Because she was there, and she was the one who essentially started the conflict with the Jedi. Like she was already telling May to start fighting. She was arming half the witches. Like,
but
when
then,
Mother Anastasia didn't know what was going on.
Does that dismay the Tenebris and Plagueis theory?
Like, I don't know. That's the thing. Like timeline wise, this is when Darth Tenebris is active. Plagueis, you can argue, is technically maybe too young or not quite born yet. Obviously, you can play with that because it wasn't officially canon. But Tenebris for sure should be in this. But now I'm not so sure. Like, is it going to just be Mother Coral, who is, well, there is another actor who is yet to appear, and he's only in the finale. So we think that, and I can't remember his name, but it's a male. So everyone's been speculating he's going to be a Sith. So do we get Tenebris and maybe Mother Coral? So I don't know. Does
I think they blow it. Mother Coral is going to be the first Jedi, the first Sith. And what's going to end up tying it in is that she's really the first person that was able to create life with the midichlorian count. And they're going to try and save it that way. Yeah.
So it's all my theories I had now are completely blown out the window with no Sith involvement. Again, if Mother Coral is Sith, but not the big bad Sith involvement. So like it
unless Khmer's is Tenebris.
Yeah,
Tenebris is her apprentice.
Yeah. But yeah, either way, it took the wind out of my sails for this series. Like I thought there was so much opportunity to go somewhere, and I know we still got an episode left that could change that. But I was disappointed last night.
Yeah,
I thought last night was going to be like the one episode that really ramped things up into the finale, but instead, again, 75% of it was wasted. It didn't really answer any more questions. It left a lot more questions open.
Yeah.
And now we're gonna have to like a jam-packed finale just to get some closure on this stuff.
Agreed.
But yeah, that's kind of where I was sitting with it. The only other thing, I don't know if you want to talk about the Virgins, but the way I understood it is Virginces are essentially strong places, things, or people where there's a strong force connection.
An overwhelming force connection. It's not just a slight one. Like it's
so like the cave on Dagobah, like there's a Virgins there, I believe.
Yeah.
Obviously
planet named
Skywalker.
Tatooine. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Anakin was himself, the person is a Virgins. But what I try to understand from this one, there's a Virgins on the planet, and the mothers used that excess force energy on the planet that allowed them to create life. Had they did it on any other planet, they would not be successful.
Yeah.
So I think that's the thing that's how they tied it all in. So it's not like Anakin, right? Because Anakin was Anakin is the Virgins.
Yeah,
this was
totally
they had to use a strong wellspring of force energy essentially,
and that's
in order to create life. Yeah. So that's the way I think it makes sense in my head. So again, I'm fine with it. Again, it explains a little bit more Qui-Gon's line, but outside of that, fairly disappointed with this.
I cannot wait to hear your score on this.
I've been going back and forth in my head because it's still Star Wars and I still love Star Wars and there's still aspects of the show I like. It's just my hopes were raised for this one, so it's always a bit of letdown. But I'll go first.
Yeah.
I'm in the 6s, and I think a 6-7 is appropriate for me.
Yeah, I'm a
7.
I'm a 6 too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a 6 too.
Yeah, really. Yeah, I think they had it was a wasted opportunity. And again, maybe we created that opportunity in our minds with how they set things up, but it was just underwhelming.
Yeah, it was not great.
Yeah.
Well, it's always next week.
One last week to try to salvage something from this series.
There's no way.
I'll cross my fingers for it, but and again, like, had they used the time more wisely, maybe we could have spent more time with Kimir on this episode. Yeah. But instead, the strongest part of the series didn't make it onto screen. It's like, again, and I don't know if it's the way they're setting up these episodes, like 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 30 minutes, and they all have to end with a little cliffhanger, and they're just, I don't know. It's just, I've seen a few people harp on Disney and the way they tell TV show stories that it's almost like they have a movie and they're trying to turn it into a series. It's just not working.
No,
it's not written well as a TV show. So
no, I agree.
They got to do some adjustments, but hey, like you said, next week, maybe.
It's always next week.
Yeah. All right. So I'll wrap it up for us. Let us know in the comments what you guys thought of this episode. And we'll see you all next week. Peace out.